On this month's episode of GroupCollect the Podcast, we look at the year of 2025 in the group travel industry in a way that only we can here at GroupCollect, and that's through the lens of GroupCollect Register data. That means reflecting on things like total number of passengers, trips, donation totals, and top destinations visited, all the while acknowledging that these are not merely data points on a graph, but rather each one a human life impacted by a trip that our users organized. Absolutely incredible stuff and a great conversation. So with that, let's get into this episode of GroupCollect the Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to GroupCollect the Podcast, the only show on the internet that brings you insights from the world of group travel technology, as well as news about your favorite group travel tech company, which is, of course, GroupCollect. I am your host, Erik Young, and today I am joined, as always, by Kathlyn Lyles from St. Augustine, and in Weymouth, Massachusetts, it's our Director of Product Management, Ryan Kramer. Can each of you believe that this is the December episode of GroupCollect the Podcast, and we are reflecting on yet another year in the books for GroupCollect the organization?
Unbelievable.
This year flew by, I feel like.
It absolutely did, and that probably has something to do with the fast track of growth and evolution that the organization GroupCollect is in the midst of. It makes things fly by. So listen, in that spirit, what we wanted to do is we want to make this an episode of reflection. We are going to be taking a look at the year that was 2025. But of course, this is GroupCollect the Podcast, so we're going to be looking at data that only GroupCollect the organization can talk about, which is derived from GroupCollect Register. And what we want to do is we want to take a look at some of these numbers, and we want to think about what this means for group travel as an industry. Then I want each of you to sort of reflect on these numbers within the context of your respective roles. All right? All right. Talk about this from the product management side, from the account management side. What do these numbers mean to you and your contributions to them? After all, gang, group travel is an industry that is by and for people, right? Yeah. And as a technology company, some may think that we like to gloss over that fact, but nay, that is really what's at the core of what we're doing and especially what we're talking about today in this here episode. So y'all ready to dive into some of these numbers?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to start with the fattest one. All right. Total number of passengers traveled. All right. 283,979.
Amazing.
Kathlyn, reflect on that within the context of your role.
Well, as the account manager, I am responsible for helping these companies get as many students out on the road and traveling, or adults out and traveling, and anything that I can do on my side to help make things easier for those people. The end user, of course, like we were talking about, to get in the system and pay, make it as easy to be like, yes, I want to go on this trip. Here's my name, here's my money. Okay. And then that's all they have to worry about. They know that their payments are secure. They know that they're for sure going on this trip. We have the option of the built-in travel protection. So if anything comes up, then they don't have to worry. And it's just a wonderful feeling hearing that number, because I want our companies to succeed. And the more people that are out there that are traveling and going places and seeing new things, then I think that's just a success for everyone.
It really is. And the core of the engine that is driving us, right, is getting people out there, the students, the adults. So Ryan, take a moment. You can be as reflective and pensive as you possibly can be. There you go. Look out that misty window pane of yours into that cold gray New England air and tell me how does this number make you feel?
Well, to me, thinking not only from the product management point of view, but from someone, me as somebody who came over from the operations end of the industry, just looking and realizing that for every person that we include in that number, that's somebody who had a trip that was potentially eye-opening, life-changing, paradigm shifting. Um, and just think about we played a small piece in making that happen for all of those people. And because of GroupCollect Register, these tour operators were able to make sure that each of those people was properly assigned to a bus or a room list or whatever sort of a manifest export that they needed. It was because of that all of these people were able to settle up with their accounts. And so much of, you learn very quickly in this industry that, what you see out on the road there, that's generously, maybe 5% of what goes into it. So much is just the prep and the planning and knowing how hard that is. It makes me happy to hear that, for each one of those people, that's a time that our system was able to jump in there and smooth the process.
Yeah. No, I think you guys both said it wonderfully. So I don't have too much more to add, but I will add some things that it did make me reflect on. Group Collect Register is a tool that is obviously meant to make the registration and the planning and organization from the tour operator's side a lot easier. The registration, of course, from the passenger side. But it's not to say that this over to almost 300,000 passenger count would not have traveled without it. That's what we don't know, right? Is what exactly did we impact here, right? But what it made me sort of resolve within myself is even if the difference was nominal and our tool really only contributed to a small fraction of this number being higher, that's worth it because these trips are that precious. And for our tool to have any sort of an impact on it and making this easier to the point where it made a trip happen where perhaps it wouldn't have in another situation where registration wasn't so easy or planning the trip wasn't so easy, organizing it wasn't so easy, and then maybe an entire trip canceled. Having any part of that contributing to just a handful of extra passengers worth it. I am absolutely here for it. The other thing is I developed this tactic in my tour directing days when I was trying to get groups of middle schoolers and high schoolers to sort of wrap their heads around. Mostly it came in Washington, D.C. when we were talking about how many casualties there were in the Great American Wars. And you start to talk about the hundreds of thousands of people. And so I developed the mental tactic of thinking about football stadiums, which are roughly about like 50,000 people, right? And
Mhm.
everyone can kind of put that visual in their head of like, oh, good God, that's a lot of people. And so this is almost six football stadiums worth of people out on
Wow.
the road that went through Group Collect Register. And I think that that's my final point is that Group Collect Register, if anything, provided us the opportunity to look at this number, to provide the insight. And I think that that is so interesting because there's a lot of speculation and a lot of lack of data in the group travel industry. And so it's cool to actually be able to have this snapshot via our system and the people that use it. And so a salute to all the users out there, as always. So you each know, this translates to 3,813 trips in total. Um,
That's amazing.
and you all know how much work goes into just one of those trips, right?
Yep.
Could you imagine extrapolating that number out into the amount of hours spent?
Mhm.
Years worth.
Yep.
It's lifetimes, but that was just 2025, baby. So Kathlyn, you also brought up the concept of let's analyze the donation data from 2025. What was it that made you curious about that and want to kind of look at that and think about that?
Well, I think we were talking and we were trying to find out, how many people have traveled. Also, what have we done to help them travel? So the first thing I always think was the donation piece, because there are people who love to travel, want to travel, have school opportunities that can't necessarily afford it on their own, but they might have a community that can help them. So when I think about the donation feature, it makes me so happy because it gives people the opportunity who normally wouldn't be able to travel the opportunity to travel. And I just see it as like it's a big community. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to let, someone experience something that they've never experienced before. So that is just exciting that we have that ability, is that there are people who can make donations and help our travelers get out there.
Yeah. No, this is I'm realizing now this is all coming off as very self-congratulatory, but I really do love and believe in the features of this system. And I do really think that this is an example of a great intersection of technology and harnessing a really positive element of the human spirit of giving. I think you nailed that, Kathlyn. Ryan, we rolled out the donations feature in the system, I believe, last March of 2024. So March of this year marked an entire calendar year with donations. Speak about this from the product side. How has that year and a half almost, how do you all feel about this feature, and what sort of evolutions for it do you see moving forward, if any?
Well, in the spirit of full disclosure, the donations feature predates me. I was but a glimmer in Bud and Corey's eye at the time that
you you were not yet born into
yeah,
the group collect organization.
I had not had my group collect any created yet. But it's funny, when I joined the product team, both the engineers and Eugene and Delia, they reflected back on the donation feature as being an example of a really successful project that had been undertaken, which does not mean that, it went off without a hitch. There were things that needed to be figured out. There were, as Eugene likes to call them, little bugaboos along the way that needed to get squashed. But at the end of the day, to your point, they, start in March of 2024, rolling out this feature. And by the time I arrive in August of 2024, donations is already so much a part of the fabric of what Group Collect is. And then we get to March of the year when we did our first year in review
Mhm.
with the donations. And it felt even more just kind of a part of the system. And now here we are at the end I guess this would be the first full year of
Correct.
donations and being a part of it here. So just thinking about how rewarding the work that we do over on the product side of the house is, and how it's worth some of the long hours and imperfect rollouts and
Yeah.
everything like that, because at the end of the day, it was all of those little stumbles along the way that got us to where we are now, where we have this thing. I think it's fair to say humming.
Yeah, and I mean, you all correct me if I'm wrong, and I think that you have already provided insight to this, Ryan, but donations within Group Collect Register kind of felt like a feature that rolled this is going to sound really naive, but it's almost like it rolled itself out, and it really it seemed like it served a very direct and real world purpose from the beginning. And these numbers, I believe, support that. Now, I know that behind the curtain it was not all, rose petals and butterflies. But I do think that the public perception of it was immediate, and the adoption felt like it was immediate. People understood it, and the usage is, now, Ryan, you made a great point. We get to look at the first full calendar year with donations firing within the system. So let's dig into these numbers because they're staggering. I'm going to lead with the largest one, which is the total amount of money donated from the donors to the passengers. And it is north of $4 million.
Wow.
$4,012,792.51 to be exact.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that amount of money, Kathlyn?
It's a lot, but it's just such, thinking of how many people that has helped is just such a rewarding feeling. And knowing that that made the difference for so many people, it's just awesome.
I agree. And as we dig into the data further, we see that total came throughout 30,338 donations for an average of $132.27 per donation. Ryan, how do you feel about that number? Is that higher, lower, or about what you would expect for an average donation?
In my mind, if that's the average donation, the average donor is quite generous, and I
Right?
think that's quite heartening. And I mean, there's such a range of different tour costs in our system, right? We facilitate everything from the a quick bus trip down to the local Six Flags park to multi-week expeditions out to the Greek Isles. But no matter what, that's a good chunk of change, especially when you think about how we break down into incremental payments. For most trips that I see there, that's close to an entire payment being covered. So I think just that opportunity to help people out that way. Uh, I like to think that, because we were able to make it so easy to go ahead and make a donation there, that it's kind of like what you said there, Eric. Like in the absence of Group Collect, how many of these tours would have actually gone? In the absence of the Group Collect donation feature, how many of these donations would have actually been made? Like how has kind of our making the ease of entry, kind of zero depth, helped that $4 million+ endeavor happen. And so just it gets my head spinning and makes me very, very happy for everybody who was able to be a beneficiary of those donations.
Absolutely. And I do want to say that, yes, this is GroupCollect Register reflecting on itself and how great this is, but we are a product and a reflection of the industry. Like we
Hmm.
are merely a conduit, really, when you think of it that way. So I hope that everybody listening, the tour operators, the administrators, the ones that put the passengers in the seats and on the road, that you all feel this sense of reward in
Yes.
hearing these numbers as well. I was absolutely astounded. Um, so, Ryan, you had also mentioned that there is a wide range of cost of trip that passes through the system. That, of course, is another wonderful element of the group travel industry. It's not really a standardized product that we're peddling here. It's all different shapes and sizes and lengths and costs. Hey there, everyone. A quick reminder, and first of all, thank you for listening to GroupCollect the podcast, but we just wanted to quickly talk to you about another group travel podcast that we know that you'll love, and that is, of course, Gather and Go with Brian Jewell. Consider this essential listening for tour operators and travel entrepreneurs. Brian is a friend of GroupCollect and a longtime travel journalist, and in every episode, he interviews travel experts and thought leaders who bring great ideas and incredible insights to travel businesses like yours. You'll learn how to level up marketing, reach new customers, plan trips new ways or to new destinations, and become more profitable in the process. So, what are you waiting for? Find Gather and Go on your favorite listening app or at grouptravelleader.com/podcast. Once again, that is grouptravelleader.com/podcast. We will include that link in the show notes here. But with that, let's get back into our reflective and cathartic conversation with Ryan and Kathlyn. and continue digging into the rest of this annual data. That was the next thing that we were able to dig into as far as what really went down in group travel through the lens of GroupCollect Register in 2025, which is the destinations that were visited, both domestic and abroad. So I'm going to share my screen here to kind of bring up some cool stuff. The top 5 U.S. destinations visited. We will start here in our home country. First, we'll list the top 5. Now, what we had is states. This was the data that was most readily available to us within GroupCollect Register. Um, Cities visited might be something that we can dig a little bit deeper into for 2026. But for 2025, we'll talk about the top 5 U.S. states and territories visited. Number 1, well, let's actually start from number 5, was the state of Georgia. Number 4, California. Number 3, Washington, D.C. Number 2, the state of New York. And number 1, Florida, the Sunshine State. Any surprises here in the top 5?
I was not expecting Georgia to be up there, but it does have quite a bit to offer.
And yeah, we had a wonderful little trip down to Georgia ourselves this summer, Kathlyn. And yeah, we got to see firsthand that it's quite worthy of that seat, I think, at least judging by how they did with Savannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, Atlanta, obviously, the major metropolitan destination, but you guys lived it up in Savannah. So, I mean, Georgia's got it all.
Yeah, a lot more history, I think, than I would think of. If I was younger, I wouldn't think there's any history in Georgia, but there's actually quite a bit there.
Oh yeah, no, it'll make your knees buckle, the amount of history going on there. So yeah, I found that a little bit surprising. I also, and this is not a dig on you, Ryan, but I found the absence of Massachusetts in the top 5 to be slightly surprising.
Yeah, I'm feeling that a little bit. So, to all of the tour operators, or let me, excuse me, all the tour operators listening to this podcast, you better start sending wicked groups to Boston in the birthplace of our nation.
I
Uh,
think I think that that's the issue. I think that, everyone has always been told they get to park their car in Harvard Yard, and they're like, "What about the bus? Where are
I
we
just
going to
have to
park the
say,
charter bus?" Nobody
if
ever
any
talks about bus parking in Massachusetts. Sounds complicated. We're going to New York.
if anybody from our fantastic CVB Meet Boston is listening to this, I'm so sorry. Let me just say that.
No, we need to invite them on the show. They need to rebuttal this. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll have to list somewhere in the show notes where the state of Massachusetts actually did land, because all we have notated here is the top 5. But
Mhm.
and not to say that the state of Massachusetts was not visited at all by groups in 2025. It is obviously one of the premier destinations in our great nation. All right, so let's switch on over to international destinations.
Ooh.
It's obviously a much larger map here to ascertain some insight from, but we'll go ahead and read off the top 5 countries visited in 2025 as told by the trips that went through GroupCollect Register. They are as follows. Number 5, Spain. Number 4, Greece. Number 3, Germany. Number 2, France. And number 1, Italy. The Florida of Europe. Except it doesn't have a Disney park, but France does.
Yes, France does.
Yeah. For anybody that works in the like any kind of Italian visitor bureau, I'm sorry for making that comparison. I apologize.
Florida of Europe.
The Florida of Europe. I don't know if you deserve that, Italy. But talk to me about this list. Any surprises? Anything that pops off the page?
I just want to say I think it's wonderful. Like I'd be remiss if we didn't say think about 5 short years ago when there was serious talk about if there was ever going to be a bounce back in international travel, and if all travel was going to become local, and oh, it's going to take years and years and years for things to level back out. I mean, look at this map here, not even 5 years after those conversations we're having. So, wonderful to see all of those destinations highlighted, but just the fact that we're back to, being this more global community, I think is just wonderful, and that warms me up.
Um, I concur. And I mean, again, I cannot stress this enough. When we are looking at this data from GroupCollect Register, we are looking at but a snapshot of the group travel industry.
Mhm.
But any view through any lens is a valuable one, in my opinion. But certainly this is a reflection of the work and the markets that the tour operators and the users of Group Collect Register where they specialize. And even with that, I mean, yeah, we have every continent represented. A trip has gone to every continent except for Australia and Antarctica in 2025.
It's
Um,
remarkable.
and I mean, I would also say that that probably also contributes to the um, uh, the skew towards the continent of Europe. We work with a lot of American group travel planners, and I'll tell you what, Americans do really, really enjoy traveling to Europe. So I
Not
understand
tell a lie.
why
I do that.
that tour operators have been servicing that desire very strongly in 2025. But if you all take a look at this heat map over here, the amount to which the country of Italy dominated international travel in Group Collect Register is actually staggering. It's the
Yeah.
only country that is between it's over 160 trips in 2025.
I hear the
Mhm.
the food is just spectacular there.
Nice. And the first time I ever left the country was to go to Italy. So glad to see that so many people are sharing that experience there. It's one of a kind.
Yes, and so, that's the data that we pulled. Any final reflections on the year of 2025 or the data discussed?
Well, for me, just it was just like it was our first full calendar year of donations. It was my first full calendar year as a group collect team member. So thank you to you guys and to all the other team members who are listening, who might be listening, for being just the greatest team that anyone could hope to work for and work with. And something that's been a real highlight for me was I've gotten the pleasure of meeting a lot of our users over this past year, getting to hit the road, be out at ABA in Philadelphia, be at SIDA down in Savannah. Having a few other opportunities, virtually and in person throughout the year to get to meet so many of you has been fantastic. And I can't wait for another year of that coming up in 2026.
I was going to say, are people going to be able to see more or less of Ryan Kramer at the industry conferences this year?
If you're going to be in Reno, I will most definitely be there. Pull up a little seat next to me at the blackjack table, and we'll make some magic happen.
And Kathlyn, how about you?
Yes, I will also be in Reno, but as someone who grew up there, there is way more to Reno than the blackjack tables. So if you are looking
There's
for an
also roulette and craps.
yes, but if you are looking for a more student friendly or a non-gamble friendly experience in Reno, then I'm your gal. So I know all of the things and all of the places.
Ooh, all right. Well, yeah. So little local experience. Then you got to find Kathlyn over there in ABA. We are going to link our ABA event page for Group Collect and the team that is going to be there in the show notes of this very show. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart as the host of Group Collect the podcast, along with my co-hosts here. It has been phenomenal to be able to do this for a full calendar year. We anticipate continuing, keeping the show rolling in 2026. So we love everybody that is listening, especially you Romanian listeners. We have quite a listenership out there in Romania, from what we've been told. And we just hope that everybody is getting as much out of this as we enjoy putting into it. With that, I want to say, if you enjoy what you're listening, then please consider finding us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. That is GroupCollect the Podcast. And if you have any questions, thoughts, suggestions, comments, or if you want to be a guest on the show, email me. My name is Erik, Erik, at groupcollect.com. Again, you can email the show at eric@groupcollect.com. With that, we are going to give out not just your monthly, but annual reminder to everyone out there listening to stay cool and collecting! This has been a GroupCollect production.